Chapter 1 Overclock Rampage. The network screamed. Not in sound, but in vibration in the deep, electric tremor of a world made of logic and light. The sector's grid lines flickered, destabilizing in cascading waves that rolled outward like digital shock fronts. Entire blocks of code warped at the edges, bending like metal under heat. The air rippled with pulses of green fire. And at the epicenter, a man braced himself against a storm he never asked for. Darrell's boots dug into the trembling ground, microspikes deploying automatically from their soles as the overclock protocol surged through every conduit in his suit. The power roared beneath his armor like a caged storm. His hands shook violently, green energy spiraling from his palms in uncontrolled arcs that tore through the sky like lightning. He gritted his teeth and forced his stance wider. Come on, hold. The storm bucked against him, a wild animal made of pure data. Jagged shards of corrupted code whipped through the air, slicing trenches into the shimmering floor. A spinning fragment slammed into Darrell's shoulder armor and shattered like glass. The impact stung, even through the suit's shock dampeners. He exhaled through clenched teeth, visor glowing bright emerald as diagnostic overlays flickered across his view. Overclock protocol. Critical instability. Power flow exceeding safe parameters. Neural link. Latency spike detected. Yeah, no kidding. Darrell shouted into the raging wind. This wasn't power. This was a meltdown. And it was eating the sector alive. The Overclock protocol was never meant for him. It wasn't meant for anyone. It was a theoretical failsafe, a desperate last resort buried deep inside the system's architecture. But when the first anomaly hit, a sudden collapse in Sector 7's integrity grid, something in the network triggered him. Darrell had only seconds to react before the surge filled him with raw, unfiltered system energy. The kind no suit could safely channel. No human either. Yet somehow, he was still standing. If barely. The storm around him intensified. Green arcs spiraled upward, illuminating the sector in pulses of viridian light. The digital pillars that once supported the region's core framework began collapsing one by one, not from impact, but from systemic decay. A voice crackled through Darrell's comms, distorted by interference. Darrell, do you copy? The surge is spreading. It's tearing straight through the subnet walls. He recognized the voice instantly. L. Precise, analytical, always calm, but never afraid to shout when numbers told him things were about to explode. Darrell tried to respond, but the overclock's interference scrambled his audio link. He slammed a fist into the ground, sending a controlled shockwave outward to stabilize part of the collapsing architecture. The ground trembled but held. Mostly. Al. I'm trying. Darrell managed to force through static. You need to disengage the overclock before it kills you. I can't. Darrell roared as another energy pulse slammed into him. If I let this go, the entire sector's done. His visor flashed another warning. Suit structural integrity compromised 37%. Darrell wasn't typically the dramatic type. He didn't look for hero moments or try to be the center of anything. He was the guy who worked quietly, fixed what was broken, and kept things moving. But the system didn't care about what he wanted. The surge tightened around him like a constricting force, pulling at the conduits embedded in his suit. The overclock protocol pulsed through him, too big for one person to contain. He roared against the pressure, pushing out another blast of stabilizing energy as cracks fractured outward from his boots. His HUD flickered again. Warning, neural link stress reaching unsafe levels. Overclock, 128% capacity. Darrell felt his heartbeat in his jaw, in his skull, in his teeth. Come on. He muttered as sweat rolled down his forehead beneath the helmet. A cascade of corrupted data surged upward like a geyser. Darrell thrust both hands into the stream, grabbed hold of the instability with raw force, and shoved it downward. The energy recoiled violently, nearly throwing him off his feet. He refused to move. He had to anchor it. He had to push it back. He felt something in his arm brace snap. Then something deeper, in the overclock itself, shifted. A spike of pain stabbed through him, electric and blinding. His vision blurred. For a terrifying moment, everything around him dissolved into meaningless streaks of light. His knees buckled. Overclock failure imminent. No, not yet. The storm contracted around him, tightening like a noose. Darrell braced again, forcing his legs to lock into position. He dug deeper than he ever had. He didn't think. He didn't calculate. He didn't strategize. He pushed. The ground beneath him cracked like a fault line. The shockwave radiated outward, stabilizing the sector just enough to slow the decay. The corrupted storm around him rippled, its spiraling pattern finally beginning to weaken. Darrell gasped for air. His entire body trembled. Behind the chaos, he heard distant system alarms. Subroutines trying to reroute power. Frameworks buckling. Walls of code collapsing. And still, he held the line. Because if he didn't, no one else could. As the storm waned, the green light dimming from blinding to merely overwhelming, Darrell fell to one knee. His visor flickered but held. His suit hissed with overheating vents. The overlock protocol steadied, then quieted. Just a little. The anomaly was contained. For now, Darrell exhaled, every muscle trembling. The comm link cleared just enough for AL's voice to come through again. Darrell, talk to me. Are you alive? Darrell smirked weakly beneath his helmet. Still here, he breathed. Good, Al exhaled. Because whatever caused this, it wasn't an accident. Something hit the network hard. Darrell forced himself to stand. And through the fading storm, for the first time, he saw the shadow on the horizon. Glitching. Shifting. Watching. A red glimmer for eyes. Something new. Something wrong. Something waiting for him.